Allow us to begin today's road trip talk with something that is decisively not of the road. This is the Dassault Alpha Jet, also known as the Dornier. Alpha Jets were a new addition to the Motorfest roster over the past year and have become truly the fastest vehicle class that you can experience. With speeds surpassing 400 miles per hour, it is possible to get from one end of Oahu to the other in less than 2 minutes. This is just one of a variety of non-standard vehicle classes, ranging from demolition cars to helicopters, that Ivory Tower has provided over the years. It is possible we may even see the return of hovercrafts in the future, though the company has not specified such as of yet, so the jury is still out on such things. We return to the ground and to something a bit more casual, for Motorfest standards at the very least. Now stop me if you've heard this one before. During the age of the Cold War, soda manufacturer PepsiCo struck a deal with the USSR for the sale of its carbonated drink products within the superpower's many territories, at a time when most free market enterprises avoided the region altogether. This gave Pepsi a comparative advantage over its rival, Coca-Cola. There was only one problem. The Soviet ruble was not viable for market exchange in any non-Soviet nation. To get around this, PepsiCo would barter its product for a product exclusive to the region, Russian alcohol. Stolichnaya vodka and Nazdarovia champagne were resold domestically in the US and would become nearly 70% of the imported alcohol market by 1976. This unorthodox trade deal would persist for more than a decade. Yet as time went on, the economy of the USSR would enter a decline. By 1989, the transfer of alcohol was not enough to satisfy the conditions of the contract. So the government threw in a massive sweetener, no pun intended. The deal included 17 submarines, 3 warships, and a promise to build another $3 billion worth of commercial oil tankers and freighter ships. This was a massive deal for its time, and may have come to fruition if the USSR had not collapsed just 2 years later, in 1991. Of the vessels given to PepsiCo, their value was unfortunately on the low end, measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars, whereas properly seaworthy vessels were valued in the millions. These vessels were better off being sold as scrap than being used for company operations. The CEO of the company would even joke that they were disarming the USSR faster than the US government ever could. Capitalism can be a bit strange like that. Even when the final return on investment paled in comparison to the $3 billion that were promised, PepsiCo had somehow still managed to spin the entire experience as a win for them, particularly over their rival Coca-Cola. And you have to respect that. Yet it does lead one to wonder what may have happened if those 10 or so freighters and oil tankers had ever been built. As new vessels, they might have been quite seaworthy indeed, and would have given PepsiCo the ability to expand operations in a drastic way. Logistics is big business, and while the company is secretive about how much it spends, it has been estimated that the company handles over 250,000 internal shipments every year, at a cost of over $380 million during each year. Not to mention that to this day, PepsiCo continues to dabble in unorthodox logistics experiments, such as being an early adopter of electric semi-trucks, the results of which have been variable, to say the least. So what does any of this have to do with the Motorfest? Well, if you have been paying any attention, you may have noticed that aircraft carriers play something of a passive role during the festivities. Some of them serve as a staging area for the grand races, while others have been integrated into events, such as the Barbers Point Harbor obstacle course. Yet as you dig deeper, you realize there has to be more to the story. Let's take a step back and look at the logistics of the Motorfest, shall we? As the Motorfest was originally ramping up, they set up field offices throughout the United States. One of these was located in Fresno, California, though there are certainly others in other major cities, and perhaps in other countries as well. Participants have hailed from all across the world, and rather than spend all of their time on the Hawaiian Islands, will commute back and forth throughout a racing season. Take Madeline, for example. Her preferred aircraft is the Harmon Rocket 3, which has an estimated fuel range of around 750 miles. The distance between California and Hawaii, meanwhile, is approximately 2,500 miles. To travel this distance would require refueling a total of 4, possibly 5 times if the conditions were not favorable, meaning that the most economical way of facilitating these travels is for there to be refueling vessels on the open ocean, spaced approximately 500 miles apart, to allow participants not only to top off their planes, but to also rest and recharge their bodies. And this is the nature of the Motorfest Navy. It could very well be a massive network of ships spanning the entire Pacific, given that the distance from Hawaii to Japan is even further, at nearly 4,000 miles. Other ships in this fleet are likely more specialized, and are the ones responsible for moving the myriad vehicles which are used during the various playlist events. It paints the Motorfest as being a truly massive operation, employing hundreds, if not thousands of people in order to make everything feel that much more seamless. Well, as seamless as it can be when event rotations and new playlists occur once every 45 to 60 days. Anyway, to round this conversation out, it does beg the question of what other specialized vehicle classes could make an appearance at the Motorfest in the future. Could we see other decommissioned military vehicles, such as tanks and drones? Could we see new events, such as air attack events similar to those done in Split Second? I would love to know your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching, and we will be seeing you in future videos.